Greetings everyone. We are Group 8 of Section F and we are here to present on the topic Sustainability in Packaging Industry. To start with the topic, let's first try to understand what sustainable packaging is. Given forward are 6 bullet points which will help us to understand the same. The first one being that the benefits, the safety and health for the individual and the communities should be taken care of throughout its life cycle. These parameters should not be on the adverse side. The next criteria being that the basic purpose for which the packaging has been created for, the performance which is expected from it should not be compromised. Plus, the cost should not increase so much that sustainable packaging is not suitable for a small scale industry. Third, the manufacturing, transportation, recycling as well as sourcing of the packaging should be done with the help of renewable energy. Fourth point, that sustainable packaging, whichever waste has been produced or is produced, should not leave the value chain. If at a particular stage there is some wastage, then it should be utilized in the further stages. The last one being that the physical design of the packaging should be optimized for the material and the energy consumption to make it happen.
So now we have the indicators and the metric models that has been suggested by Sustainable Packaging Coalition that particularly includes first is material use. To understand the type of material that has been used and how much is it sustainable and how much it is recyclable and to which extent. The next is the energy use. To understand how much energy has been used and what percent of the total energy used is renewable and sustainable. Similarly, we have for the water use, how much water that has been used has come from the renewable sources and how much lesser impact it can have on the environment. The next is the material health. The material health is about to understand how much, or rather, to understand the potential human and ecosystem health impact that it has and the packaging material has on the environment. The next is the clean production and transportation that includes less of waste produced to the environment. The next is the cost and performance, which includes that the sustainable packaging should not be very much costly and the performance should be at par with the other materials which are not produced from the sustainable packaging perspective. The next is the community impact, which accounts for the overall community impact that it has in its overall cycle. Last is the worker impact, which includes the workers which are involved in the process of sustainable packaging are kept in healthy condition. So the next we have shown an example of the material use, and similarly we can have different tabs that we can go by going that we can see by going to the website, and what all it includes we can see. The next is the best sustainability practices that is observed in India. The first is the Marico reduced their parachute oil bottle to be 7% lighter and scab to be 2% lighter. When the packaging was made lighter, it reduced the transportation cost as well as reduced the material that is required for the packaging purposes. The next is the ITC implemented 99.8% waste paper in their packaging boxes for Sunfeast brand, which shows that the recycled paper has been encouraged for packaging purposes. The next is the S.A. Johnson redesigned its products to sell concentrated form of liquid cleaning. When the liquid was sold in concentrated form, that implied lesser of quantity of usage, and that implied uh, greater life of the liquid, so that less and less of packaging materials is used to produce more liquids. The next is consumers were offered discounts against future purchases in exchange for returning empty or used plastic bottles, that was initiated by Bharti stores at Delhi. Hindustan Unilever launched the Go Recycle campaign to educate the customers about the habits of recycling and reduce wastage of packaging material. The next we have is Dabur Foods, with which works with its suppliers and engages in form of encouraging Tetra Packs. Tetra Packs has been used as a substitute for plastic bottles. That this can be very much recyclable and is best sustainable packaging produce that can be adopted by FMCG companies. The next is the Coca-Cola used 10% sugar-based ethanol to create plastics. Sugar-based ethanol is a renewable resource, is a renewable method of packaging that leaves no hazardous impacts on the environment. The next we have is the Unilever constructed a new production facility in 2013 where it used the waste generated to do the landfilling purposes, and which considerably reduced the waste that was there in the environment. The last we have is the Unilever developing a plan to create market value for light plastic packaging and discard all the materials that are stored that are believed to be non-sustainable when it comes to environmental practices, especially in the the next we can see is the best global sustainable practices that has been adopted across the globe. The first we have is with us Coca-Cola. The points that Coca-Cola adopt that can be summarized is: first is improving packaging material efficiency per liter of the product. Next is trimming weight of 20-ounce PET bottles by more than 25%, shaved 30% weight from the weight of 20-ounce AI can, lightened out 8-ounce glass bottle by more than 50%. Basically, they reduced the amount of packaging that was required per unit so that less of material is used and more of resources are preserved. The next we have is the loss bottle Japan, which employs plant bottle TM material and is 40% lighter than the average bottle water that is used in Japan. Next, what they encouraged was the twist and crush the bottle after use, which helped in saving the space of recycling bins and saving money and energy required for the transport. The next example that we have in front of us is Dell, which is considered to be one of the finest examples when it comes to sustainable packaging. It adopted 3C strategy, that is cube, content and curve. It involves creating packaging design which reduces the size of boxes that has been used and thereby decreasing the redundant packaging that has been used for the material. It even involved innovative packaging materials such as bamboos and mushroom cushions instead of giving them cushioning with say thermocol or say gelatin bags. And this indeed made the packaging very much lighter and it decreased the logistics cost for the company. And at the end of financial year 2015, approximately 66% of shipments use packaging that is 100% sustainably sourced. The next example we have is Colgate Palmolive, where it encouraged recycling and uses 100% recyclable packaging materials that is used to for the packaging of personal care products. It eliminates use of PVC, which causes a greater amount of pollution as compared to any other plastic. It encourages the 4 Rs, that is reduce, remove, recycle and reuse. More recycled content and less of packaging for say toothpaste tubes or soap line, etc. Next we have is a roadmap of how actually sustainable practices can actually be implemented. Indeed, it requires a deep collaboration across sectors in order to truly reach a sustainable packaging value chain. For example, Coca-Cola has licensed its plastic bottle technology to Heinz, Procter& Gamble and Ford for use in their products in order to in order to expand the penetration of their bioplastic in the market. If we actually want to achieve sustainability practices in packaging, that it requires a higher degree of collaboration between companies, consumers, policymakers, local municipalities, investors, and even packaging material suppliers. The customers can play a very important role by encouraging the purchase of products which are having sustainable packaging materials. The companies can focus more on renewable sources of energy and can encourage customers to recycle their products. The policymakers can form laws and sometimes force companies to adopt recycling and also to adopt packaging practices in their products, and can also sometimes result in policies that may encourage them to do the same. The local municipalities play a very important role in recycling when it comes to recycling the waste and reducing the cost of recycling as much as possible and making recycling very much accessible to the local customers. The next is we have investors, where investors can favor companies which focus more on recycling perspective and adopt sustainability packages which would gradually improve their brand value in the market. The Supplier of packaging materials can also demonstrate commitment to sustainability packaging in order to increase the company value to large FMCG corporations. Big companies can focus on suppliers which adopt sustainability packaging practices to show that the company's overall image as a green company and which focuses more on giving more to the earth than it takes. So this is what we can have, and these are the references that we used for the same. This was it from from our side. Thank you very much for your patience.